Robinson, who's in the slot. Look in that direction on a slant. Huge hit. Ball picked off. The Volunteers of the Carib make an interception. Jawan Mitchell. They call him Juju.
Discrepancy. Schuster, they were going to take a shot, but he's hit by Nelson. And Nebraska has picked up the football. Their first takeaway of the game.
Wells way down the field. It is into coverage. It is intercepted. It is over. Lamarian James has sealed the victory for Old Dominion. And fittingly, it comes on a takeaway.
I'm at Hollywood Titan. I'm joined by my co-host at Justice_2318. What's going on, Justice?
How much, man? Just watching this Marshall JMU game.
I know, right? JMU's got to win this thing, man.
Defensive battle. 3-0 at halftime.
It is, but let me say this, and I didn't know this was a rule till the other day. I think it was between last week and today. I did not know that if you moved up from FCS to FBS, I did not know that you were bowl ineligible.
Yeah.
Which freaking sucks, man, because they're having a hell of a season. They're undefeated and just running roughshod over the Sun Belt right now.
Well, they would have been eligible last year. I mean, they would have won the they could have won the conference last year. So
it's 2 years, right? You got to be 2 years before you can.
Yeah. Yep. 2 years.
And I think that's such crap. How do you sell that to your kids? Hey, we're so good, we're going to move up a level, but hey, by the way, we can't be bowl eligible. Now, there is one caveat. I did hear this. If there's not enough teams that are 6-6 to fill the bowl, they can go to a bowl. But 6-6, hell, everybody can finish 6-6. So, yeah, I just think that. What do you tell your team if you run the table, or even if they finish 10-2 or 9-3, even if they kind of slow down at the end, how do you tell a team that's won 9, 10, 11 games that, hey, sorry, you're not bowling out, you're bowling eligible? That's such shit to me. And pardon my language, because I'm already fired up. Justice got me fired up over my road rage incident this morning. So, but anyway, we'll just jump into it. The Oklahoma Sooners safety Peyton Bowen is added to the FWAA Freshman All-American watch list. So we've mentioned him a couple times on the show already this year. He's having a really good season. Some of the writers and stuff like that are starting to take notice. If he continues to trend the way he's trending, he's probably done in a couple of years. But for a true freshman, man, he is really playing well.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, I did not see this one. I've been working a lot of hours because we're moving to a new building, but I saw this one before we jumped on. The NCAA is investigating number 2 Michigan right now over sign stealing allegations. And this was reported first by Yahoo. And the allegations are a violation of NCAA bylaw 11.6.1, which states off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited. And from what I gathered and read, they have been sending quote unquote scouts or people, whoever, to other teams' games, which they're not involved in, to basically steal signs. They've been watching what they're doing as far as signs and then kind of recording what they're doing with that play. And that's not good.
No,
I don't know
it's
what
not good.
I don't know exactly what the penalty or the ramifications of that is if they are found guilty. Of course, this is the NCAA, so God knows what they're going to come up with. But Harbaugh's kind of come out and already said he's not condoned this. He knows nothing about it, of course. But man, this is kind of weird. And I saw a side nugget to this that apparently Michigan State considered calling off their matchup against Michigan over this. So,
oh wow,
yeah, like I said, I saw this just before I got on, so I didn't get to dig into it a whole lot. But in this day and age, I'm a firm believer where there's smoke, there's fire, right? A lot of times, you're supposed to be guilty until proven innocent, or innocent until proven guilty. Sorry, but in today's age, it doesn't take much to get charged with something, right? So,
no, it doesn't.
Man, this is bad. I think if it holds true, Michigan could be, I think, in some trouble. But at the same time, I don't know. I say that, and I don't know what the NCAA could really do, right? I mean, like Tennessee with the whole McDonald's bags thing, they kind of, which we did self-impose some stuff, and that kind of helped. But that drug on for, 2-3 years before they actually came back and said anything, and it was kind of like, okay, you did what you needed to do. So,
yeah, I mean, I don't know what you can do, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the NCAA's kind of lost all power anyway, I guess. After 7 and 8 weeks of college football, they are 2 teams that remain winless. And there's a caveat to this.
One of them already lost this week.
Yeah. Sam Houston State lost to Florida International last night, and they so deserved to win that game.
They did, but I mean, when you give up a 4th and 18, I don't know if you deserve it or not.
True, very true.
I mean, because they had them, and then they gave up that 4th and 18, and yeah,
they did.
Not good.
The other one is Nevada versus San Diego State, which is coming this week. But man, yeah, I was so pulling for Sam Houston last night. I guess because we've got some bias for them, right? With Trevor Williams.
Yeah,
and by the way, if you don't have Trevor Williams on your fantasy roster, and first of all, screw you, Justice, because everywhere I look, you've already got him on your roster.
I've had him for weeks, buddy. I've had him for weeks.
I was like, man, maybe he dropped him. Maybe somebody don't have him. Nope. Justice. I was like, God, I hate him. But yeah, I mean, he's a tackle machine right now. Double-digit tackles every single week. So if for some chance he's available in your league, he's going to win you a champion or help you win a championship. So go get him. And then, like I said, Nevada, they play San Diego State this week. San Diego State's not quite as good as they have been. So maybe
but Nevada's
Nevada.
so bad. They're so bad.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're very bad. Oh man. Some of these games I watch, I'm just like, why am I watching these? And then I remind myself that I'm a degenerate and a junkie for college football. So,
yep.
Oh yeah. So the Reese Senior Bowl Defensive Co-Player of the Week is Missouri defensive end Darius Robinson. who racked up 6 tackles, 4 solos, 2 sacks, 2 TFLs in their 38-21 win over Kentucky. And then you have Pittsburgh. You have Pittsburgh defensive back NJ Devonshire, who racked up 6 tackles, 5 solos, 5 PBUs, an 86-yard pick six interception for a touchdown in their 38-21 win over Louisville. 5 PBUs, man, that's huge because
Yeah,
I think in most of our leagues,
we'll talk about him. He was the highest point scorer in a couple leagues. So
yeah, that's those 5 PBUs. That's some major fantasy points. Which leads us to our players of the week, right?
yep.
And my player of the week, you've heard me talk about him, Trey Moore, linebacker for UTSA, 5 tackles, 4 solos, 3.5 TFLs, 3.5 sacks in a 41-20 win over UAB. And then your player of the week was Xavier Watts, safety for Notre Dame, 7 tackles, 6 solos, 2 interceptions, a fumble recovery for a touchdown, and a 48-20 win over USC. And they made them look silly. USC just looks silly. And I thought that would be the case. I know we may get into this later, but we've talked every week, I feel like, how bad USC's defense is, and it finally caught up with them. Right? You play a team that can actually play defense, and I think this is what you're going to get. So that's our players of the week. Sorry, my dog's in the way. They just looked awful in that game. It was horrible.
Well, yeah. I mean, their defense is awful. So,
and a little bit of, I want to backtrack here. Did you see the news? And I tried to find it before I jumped on to add in our news and notes, but I saw somewhere that Caleb Williams is requesting ownership in the team that drafts him. Did you see that?
Yep, that's true.
Is that not a crock of shit?
I mean, like, first of all, I mean, he can request whatever he wants. But I'm pretty sure.
I know, but that's kind of cocky.
I'm pretty sure it's illegal for them to give it to him. So
yeah,
like I don't think it's not allowable. So
right, and the first thing that hit my mind was, because I've seen this the last few weeks too, is, well, if he doesn't like the team that's possibly going to draft him, he'll just stay at college another year, right? He can make more money at USC than he can.
I mean, he can certainly do that. I mean, I don't think I would have. I don't know. I don't know if I would do that, but
well, it depends on the team, I guess, right?
Yeah, but I mean,
if you're a really
there ain't no guarantee. There's no guarantee the team the next year is going to be any better. So
true, but I guess it's no different than like the whole Eli Manning thing, right? Where they drafted him. He's like, I'm not playing. They traded him or whatever it was, whoever it was. I forget who it was, but
well, the Giants, the Chargers drafted him. And then the Chargers, and then Chargers drafted Manning. The Giants drafted Phillip Rivers, and they swapped and some other stuff.
Yes. So I guess it's, in reality, I guess it's kind of not any different. But man, to just before you even been drafted to say, hey, I want some stake in the ownership of the team. That's just, like you said, maybe that's illegal and they can't do that, but you have to be pretty cocky to come out and try to do that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then especially after your team lays a damn clunker against a nationally ranked team, right? That was your shining moment right there. If you'd have come out and won 48-20 over them, then people might have said, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not a Caleb Williams fan, if you can tell.
All good, buddy. All good.
But anyway, that's offense. We don't give a shit about offense anyway. So, anyway, we got to thank some sponsors. Trophy Smack. They sponsor us with some rings for our listener leagues, our IDP Nation leagues, our Devy IDP Ground League, both campus and Canton. Nice quality, well built. You've seen them on the shows before. And they got everything: plaques, trophies, belts. Those belts are so nice. They got stuff for losers. And they got stuff for other sports. And they've even got stuff that's non-sports related, right? So if you work at a company and you want to award your top seller or your top whatever, they can whip you up something nice there. They've got some really, really nice stuff. And I have to say, they're the leader in the industry when it comes to awards and stuff like that. I have bought from other places in the past, and they've got some decent stuff. But the overall variety, selection, and quality, you can't beat Trophy Smack. So go check them out. Links in the bio. You can get your discount there. Excuse me. MFL. They help us with our listener leagues as well. They comp us on the buy-ins, the league fees for that. We like to try to keep that free for our listeners. I know Devy IDP Grind, we've got a little bit of a pot for that, but that was agreed on by all of the fantasy owners.
It's not a lot. It's only $20 an owner.
Yeah, it's not a lot, but they comp us on the NFL side, and we thank them for that. We promote them; they help us. Kind of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So we thank them for that. And then we've got a new sponsor, Devy. And you're asking, what the hell is Devy? Well, Devy is a new energy drink. No artificial flavors, no artificial coloring, no sugar, all that stuff. It's full of vitamins. There's a list of vitamins, 10 miles long. It will come in a package like this. It says Devy. I've got some free samples that they sent me. Beach and Peach, Dragonade, Dub Sludge, and Galaxy Grenade. It's a powder. Unlike your canned drinks that cost God knows what because they're expensive, right? This is a powder. They have little containers that you can buy, all kinds of flavors. Go over to Dubby.com, DUBBY, and use the promo code Hollywood100, and you will get 10% off of every purchase. So I got my samples in the mail today, so I'm definitely going to try that out because I was a huge energy drink.
Is the promo code Hollywood100 or IDP Nation?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking of something else. It's IDP Nation. IDP Nation. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Justice. Thank you. I was thinking completely something else. But yeah, go check them out. Dubby.com. They've got all kinds of stuff. Shirts, product, cups, you name it, they've got it. If you're a gamer, you're going to love this stuff. If you're a huge energy drink guy, you're going to love it. So, like I said, I got my samples in the mail today. I can't wait to try it out tomorrow. So I will let you know next week just how good it is. But they got every kind of flavor you can think of. So go out and check them out. And it's IDP Nation is the promo code. I was completely thinking of something else. That's why I pay you the big bucks, man. Right there.
Well, you have it up on the screen, and it said IDP Nation.
Well, I know, but I don't.
Different. So I was like, what?
Well, I was thinking of something else, and I'm telling you, the road rage this morning has just burnt my day. It's just really.
I think the Hollywood100 is the Action 24/7 promo.
It is, and speaking of them, locally owned gambling site for Tennesseans by Tennesseans. Got all the odds just like the big boys. And really, you can bet on anything from football to baseball to basketball to hockey, right? The big four. right on down to racing, Formula One, ping pong, darts, AAA baseball, you name it, they got it. And like you said, as you reminded me, there's your Hollywood 100 promo code on your deposit. Go over there and use that. Um, so yeah, we thank them for that. And also, don't forget to join our Devy IDP Grind IDP Nation combined Discord, right? So you're getting the best of both worlds in one Discord. Um, it's just starting. I can't remember what we're up to, 12, 13 people. So we just started it, but we've got everything. If you're on Discord, you kind of know the drill, right? You can talk about anything. It's kind of a chat room. You can do whatever. So if you need the link, check it out. We've got it in our bio. Um, if not, hit me up. I'll send it to you. Good stuff there. And then Twitter, we're up to 392. YouTube, we're up to 24. We're slowly growing. So we thank you that. Please rate, review, and subscribe, right? Wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google, Podbean, iHeartRadio, anywhere. Please go give us that rating. Go over to our idpnation.com page. There's a whole review tab. Leave us a review there. And then go to YouTube, right? Subscribe and rate and review there. We thank each and every one of you. And we are looking for some bigger and brighter things, and y'all can help us do that. But yeah, we definitely want to thank our sponsors, and we definitely want to thank you because we wouldn't promote anything that we didn't think that you would like or enjoy. So we thank you for that. I'm a little wound today. So
Right.
with that said, I'm turning this over to Justice so I can breathe for a minute because he's got his his week 7 fantasy corner where he breaks down basically most of the leagues that me and him and Chopper are in together, and a couple leagues that he that is comparable, like the Toonland League. I'm not in that, but still comparable. So I will let him break this down. And a reminder, you're going to hear some names that are repeated. So if he kind of skips through those, he'll mention them once, but if he kind of skips through them in the other leagues, just know that, they're dominant or have been having huge weeks. So, I'm tired of talking already. It's your turn. Go ahead.
Well, fortunately, my own stupidity, negligence, whatever you want to call it, helped with us getting different names this week because the top defensive lineman in every league would have been Antoine Powell from Virginia Tech. I own him in every league, but I only started him in one league. So, my own stupidity for not starting him against that terrible Wake Forest offensive line. So you don't have to hear his name every single time. That's good. We got some variety, right?
Right.
So we'll start with our Devy IDP Grind Listener League. And the aforementioned Antoine Powell from Virginia Tech was the top defensive end at 32.5 points. He had a monster week against Wake Forest with 4 sacks. Next, this league, we start defensive tackles and cornerbacks, but Fantrax is very generous with their position designation. Most defensive linemen have dual eligibility, and the top defensive tackle was Owen Porter out of Marshall, really a defensive end, with 19 points. The top linebacker this week was Hollywood's Player of the Week, Trey Moore out of UTSA, 29.5 points. The top cornerback was Sebastian Castro from Iowa, 23.2 points. And the top safety, who should be a top pick in this upcoming draft, is safety Cameron Kinchins out of Miami with 28 points. Moving on to the Campus to Canton League. Top defensive, this is a defensive line, linebacker, defensive back league. The top defensive lineman was Kamon Rucker, UNC, 25.5 points. I believe he either had, I want to say 3 sacks, maybe, something like that. And then his teammate, Cedric Gray, was a top linebacker with 26 points. The top defensive back in this league was a little bit of a cheat code because he plays offense and defense. And that was Mr. Travis Hunter, 42.5 points. Now that 42.5 points That includes his offensive and his defensive points. In the leagues that we are in, and we use a tool that I created to score these players. Players get credit for everything they do on the field. Some people might not agree, but my personal opinion is, hey, like if whatever you're doing on that field, that should count, right? Just because I started you at defense doesn't mean I should only get defensive points or vice versa. So
and we've talked about this, and I play in some leagues that, man, it's like you've committed a cardinal sin to ask for an offensive player to get defensive stats or vice versa. And I'm like you. If you're good enough to be a Travis Hunter and play both, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're that good or not. If you're, I don't know, if you're a wide receiver, Traylon Burks, and you play special teams and get 2 tackles, you should get points for it. That's just how I feel about it. So I'm with you on that.
I agree with you. You should get credit for everything you do on the field. So,
yep, I agree.
All right, moving on to the Legends League. The top defensive lineman, Tennessee favorite here, James Pierce, Tennessee, 17 points.
That's right.
He's come on pretty good for Tennessee. I've heard his name mentioned a lot. Do you think he has the NFL potential, Hollywood?
I definitely do. I think he's this year and next year, and he's gone. And I've kind of alluded to it to all my Tennessee fans. You better enjoy this kid while we got him because he's gone. There was some chatter a few days ago about his ability to be a pass rusher, right? He's got an outside shot to break Tennessee's single season sack record, which is currently held by Reggie White and Derek Barnett. I think it's 10. And he's already got a chance to break that. I mean, we're 6 games into the season, and he's already got 6, 7 sacks. So I think there's a real good opportunity for him to break that. Now he may not break the career record because he didn't have that many sacks as a freshman, and B, I don't think he's going to be here long enough to do that, right? Because Reggie White was here 4 years, Barnett was here 4 years. If he keeps this pace up, he's not going to be here. He's going to be going after next year. So,
all right, good stuff. So the linebacker we've already talked about was Trey Moore. The defensive back was the Reese's defensive player of the week, co-defensive player of the week, and that was MJ Devonshire out of Pittsburgh with 48.2 points, and a lot of those points came on that 86-yard interception return for a touchdown. They got the interception points, got the yards points, and he got the touchdown points. All right.
And those 5 PBUs probably played a big part in that too.
Absolutely.
I know some of the leagues that we're in, you get rewarded for those PBUs like that. So that's huge. To have 5, I mean, you might see 2 or 3 most games, but to have 5, that's a lot. And if you're getting 2, 3 points, that's 10, 15 points automatically right there.
Moving on to the Toonland League, the defensive lineman is repeat Kamon Rucker. The linebacker is a repeat with Trey Moore, but we do have a new defensive back, and that's Millard Bradford out of TCU with 26.5 points. Now we're going to go over some of the top free agents in our listener league based on their Week 7 points totals. We have defensive end Maurice Westmoreland out of UTEP, 24.5 points. Defensive end Caden Woolard, Miami, Ohio, 22 points. And defensive tackle Landon Jackson out of Arkansas with 35.5 points. Going on to the linebackers, Jatarius Evans, UL Monroe, 44.2 points. Seth Coleman out of Illinois, 28 points. Shane Suianoa, Wyoming, 26 points. Defensive backs, MJ Devonshire, Pittsburgh, 48.2 points. Defensive back and my player of the week this week, Xavier Watts, Notre Dame, 37.2 points. And like we mentioned earlier, I mean, he was a force in that game. I mean, he was a big part of the reason why the score was the way it was, and Notre Dame beating USC, and Watts himself frustrating Caleb Williams all night long. And the last defensive back, Deshaun McEwen, San Diego State with 37 points. Looking at our season to date top players, the number one defensive lineman, Jalen Green, the sack machine. That's what they called him tonight on the broadcast. Jalen Green, the sack machine, because he got another sack tonight. Almost got a safety for JMU. He's a top defensive lineman at 86 points. Next up was my defensive player of the week last week, and that's Chris Hardy out of Jacksonville State with 84 points, followed by Jonah Ellis from Utah with 82 points. Top linebackers, number one is Peyton Wilson from NC State. He just kind of does everything from tackling to sacks, you name it. He's the man for the NC State defense with 146 points. Next up, linebacker Jay Higgins from Iowa, 135 points. And then the third linebacker is Jason Henderson at Old Dominion, 124 points. And
never heard of it.
Today it was announced he's a midseason first team All-American. So
nice.
That's some awesome news for Old Dominion and for Jason Henderson. The dude's just a tackling machine.
Yes, he is.
All right. Moving on to the defensive backs. Top defensive back is actually a true freshman, Dylan Thieneman out of Purdue with 119 points. Next is defensive back Maxwell Hairston, Kentucky, with 111 points. It should be noted that Hairston's really propped up. I want to say maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, he had like a 40 or 50 point week. So that's really kind of propped him up there. He has 111 points total. And the third defensive back is Hunter Wohler out of Wisconsin with 108 points. And that kind of rounds out the fantasy IDP players for week 7.
Right. And a couple things here. First off, we're an IDP show. You're IDP fans, IDP Devy especially. If you're not watching this Marshall and James Madison.
Looks like Marshall must have got a safety.
Yeah. If you're not watching this game, you don't love defense because it's 3-2 in the third quarter. So, yeah, this is something. And Marshall just got a deep pass here on 3rd and 8 for a first down. They're in the red zone. So, yeah, go check that game out. I'm kind of surprised that Shane Suanoa, I hope that's the right way to say that, Shane Suanoa, linebacker for Wyoming, I'm kind of surprised that he's still available. I know they have Easton Gibbs, right? But Suanoa has been somebody that me and you and Chop even last year, right? We kind of mentioned him last year, so I'm surprised that he's one of the top free agents in some leagues.
Yeah. I mean, you often find them. They just kind of there'll be players that slip through the cracks every now and then.
Yeah. Just kind of interesting. I was like, wow, I didn't expect him to be one of the, one of the top free agents. But
Marshall just threw an interception.
Yes, telling you, defensive battle. If you like college football and you like defense, you need to be watching this game. And I'll say it again, it's bullshit that James Madison ain't bowl eligible this year.
Well, talking about that, I saw, and I don't know if it's legit or not, but somebody, I want to say the Sickos committee, I think it was, came up with this plan. And if it's legit, they need to make it happen. So Jacksonville State, who's bowl eligible now, right? They got 6 wins, but they're not bowl eligible because it's their first year in the FBS. So they said Jacksonville State and JMU play each other December 10th. December 10th is the last day of the regular season.
Oh, that would be awesome.
But they have to play in either Hawaii, Alaska, or Puerto Rico. It's the only 3 places they could do it in. Because if you play a game in one of those 3 spots, you get to play an extra regular season game. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's legit, but they were citing all these rules and how they thought maybe it could happen. And that'd be pretty cool. That'd be like a big middle finger to the NCAA if
Oh yeah.
Jacksonville
Well,
State
Hawaii
and
would definitely
JMU.
be the spot, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
of course. That's
I mean, to me,
where you
like
go.
go to Alaska. That'd just be freaking awesome in the middle of December. Like
The Ice Bowl.
Ice Bowl. Exactly.
Trade in your cleats for ice skates.
So
Yeah, I
yeah, I
like
mean,
that. I mean,
that would be cool if it could happen.
I definitely like that idea of those two. You know, you're not bowl eligible, but here's you kind of like a consolation game.
Yeah.
Two teams that's moved up and is, for a lack of a better term, dominating. Right? I mean, I know the competition they're playing is not elite, but they can only play who they play. So, and they've been dominating who they've played. So yeah, and Jacksonville State, I've watched in the last few weeks. They're a really good team. So I think that would be a really good matchup. That's December. You're in that holiday window from Thanksgiving to New Year's.
It'd be the Sunday after the Army Navy game. That's the last day of the regular season.
Would that count for fantasy though?
Oh no! It won't count for fantasy.
So it would be outside that window.
Yeah, because the Army Navy game doesn't count for fantasy. Usually,
Oh, that's true.
we're done before that.
Yeah,
Because literally that's the only game. That's
cool
the only
idea.
game that weekend, right? Maybe is the Army Navy game.
Yeah, I think they are the national spotlight. So yeah, that would be pretty cool to have that game. Yeah, I think that would be a nice thing to kind of maybe put a rule in, right? So if teams, and you wouldn't have it every year, it would depend on what teams moved up or down. But if if you've got at least two teams that moved up or more, if you've got more, then you would take the top two teams that moved up and let them play each other, give them kind of a consolation, give them something to play for. Because I think it's crazy to not let these guys play in a bowl game.
Yeah, I don't. We talked about it before. I don't quite understand it. I mean,
Yeah,
who are you protecting in that situation? You're not protecting the team because they were good enough to get 6 wins.
Exactly. Well, I mean, James Madison is 6-0 right now as they play. So if
Right.
they lost the rest of the way out, they would technically be bowl eligible.
Well, there's a good chance they're going to win the rest of the way out too. So
Yeah. I mean, if they can get past this one, I know it's a dogfight right now, but yeah, there's a good chance they run the table.
James Madison was ranked last year. They made it to the top 25. Right now, I think they're currently technically 26th based on votes. So
Yeah. They win tonight, they'll definitely be ranked next week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. They moved up, they if anything, they should be at a disadvantage. So why are you punishing them for having 6 wins? That doesn't make any sense to me. But
yeah, I didn't get it. I was like, man, that's just wrong. That's just so wrong. Sorry, change my page here. Week 8.
Week 8's coming up.
Well, I guess technically
we just
that's the bad thing. Yeah, I guess that's the bad thing and the good thing about this late in the season because you got matching Tuesday. You basically got a game every day of the week for college except Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
So you basically, when Monday night game NFL is over, you better start setting your lineups for Tuesday. So, I mean, it's kind of, which I guess kind of makes it hard on you with your scoring, right? Because you've only got you've got such a smaller window there.
It doesn't really mess up the scoring. It just makes it harder, I think, for, I don't know, setting your lineups and, such as things like that. Usually I get the scoring done on Monday. So, but yeah.
So yeah, I guess we're into week 9 technically, but
week 8. We're into week 8.
Well, I'm looking at ESPN. I guess they're not. I guess they're counting.
They're counting week 0. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. Yeah. This is week 8, so it is week 8. because here's the 2 live games.
I mean,
Tomorrow night, we've only got 1 game, which is odd. SMU and Temple tomorrow night.
yeah. Before we get to the Week 8 stuff, you want to talk about some Week 7 games?
Yeah, we can.
We talked
Sure.
a little bit about Notre Dame and USC, and I watched the majority of that game, and like you said, USC looked really bad. But I thought they said that was the 3rd straight ranked team that Notre Dame played.
That probably sounds right. Yeah.
They USC, like, going to the next game, Washington beating Oregon. USC has, in my opinion, has nothing for either one of those teams. Like,
no. They'll get dusted by both of those.
They will lose to both of those teams. There's not a doubt in my mind.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see Oregon or Washington or both hang 50 on them. Easy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is my personal opinion. I think Washington and Oregon are both better than Ohio State and Florida State. Like, how Washington is not ranked number 3 blows my mind.
I will give you Ohio State. They're better than both of them. I don't know. I still think Florida State's defense is, man, that defense is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Washington and Oregon are both better teams. But
so I've got to ask. So Florida State won 41-3 over Syracuse. They're ranked number 4. Oregon beat Washington 36-33. You know, that's 2 top 10 teams. We've seen what Notre Dame did to USC. North Carolina beat Miami, which was expected, right? Oregon State beat UCLA, both top ranked. But Penn State at number 6. Too high, too low, just right.
I mean, I think there's.
You really can't look at last week because they played UMass and beat them 63 to freaking nothing.
I mean, I think it's close. But I mean, I feel like Washington and Oregon are. Washington is ranked above them, but I think Oregon's probably better than them too. Again, I think, like, to me, I think probably you asked me who I think the 4 best teams are right now, and I was going to say Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Oregon.
Ooh. See, I almost agreed with you. I almost agree. I'll give you Georgia. I'll give you Michigan. I'll give you Washington. Until I see something different, I think Florida State's number 4 for me still. I think them and Oregon's kind of close. I mean, I feel like North Carolina's getting disrespected, right? They're sitting there undefeated at number 12.
Yeah, but North Carolina, they haven't really played. I mean, their schedule gets harder towards the end. I think they got Duke, Clemson, and NC State. Now,
Yeah,
hopefully
Duke
has Riley Leonard back by that time. But
yeah, so the schedule will play out for them. That's a big thing.
And right now they play Florida State in the championship, right? So
yeah, because they're on the different side of the bracket. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, ACC got rid of it, so it don't matter anymore. Now you're right; they would have been.
Yeah, that is right.
They would have been opposite anyway, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's the 2 best teams.
And the SEC is doing that next year. They're going to a 1 division schedule. So yeah.
You know who needs to go to that?
Yeah.
The frickin' Big Ten.
Oh God,
because you know what's going to happen. Iowa's going to be in their championship game again, and because they're going to be 11-1.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, but have you ever seen a team over the course of the past 5-6 years that has had a defense that freaking good matched up with an offense that's just equally as bad?
No, you're right.
If they had even I don't even know. I would say if Iowa even had a mediocre offense, a balanced mediocre offense, they'd be in the national championship hunt. That defense over the last few years has been unreal what they've done. Especially the last three, I would say, 2, 3 at least.
Yeah. No, they got one of the best defenses. They're just like how I don't know how how he's gonna save his son's job this time. Like you gotta fire him.
Well, he's got that clause. What was it we talked about? What
20
was it?
some points.
Average
They
of 20,
ain't getting it.
24 or something.
They ain't getting
Yeah,
it.
it ain't happening.
It ain't gonna happen. And so he's got to be fired because it's just freaking terrible.
I think so too. And I get it. He probably hates to fire his son, but if he wants to keep his job, right? And he's a really damn good coach. I mean, sometimes you gotta make the hard decisions, and sometimes the hard decisions are the best decisions. And I think in this case, that's probably it, right? Because like we said, you've wasted. I'll be conservative and say the last 3 years. You've wasted quite possibly the best defensive unit, or at least a top 3 defensive unit, the last 3 years, just because your offense
it's so bad.
Couldn't score, couldn't move the ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's teams around in the NCAA that would absolutely kill to have that defense, right? And I know USC would.
Cam Porter, I would say Cam Porter might have just gotten a sack. I couldn't tell. Or if not a sack, could have been a TFL for Marshall.
Yep.
It's like JMU's getting ready to kick a field goal.
Wow. This is a barn burner, fellas. 3-2. 7.5 minutes
there
left
we go.
in the first.
6-2 now.
6-2. Bang. That's what I'm talking about. Hey, kickers are people too, Justice.
That's right. That's right.
Anything else you've got for week 7?
No, other than a couple freshmen that
sure, go ahead.
That did really good in week 7. So,
oh boy, I love you because you got my dude on the list. I see him down there.
Linebacker Tackett Curtis out of USC had 8 total tackles, had 6 solos, 2 assists, and a TFL. This next guy we talk about every single week.
Every week, baby.
And that's Caleb Downs out of Alabama. 7 total tackles, 6 solos, and an assist. And then
could you imagine where their defense would be without him?
No. I mean,
they'd be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. I mean, like, I expected him to be good. I just didn't expect him to, from a tackle standpoint, to have this much production. I didn't expect that
and I hate it because we play them this week.
Week to week basis.
Yeah, and I hate it because we play them this week. I just, he's so dangerous. He's so good. And he's an eraser for them. I mean, he's covering up a lot of freaking deficiencies, issues, mistakes. You just don't realize what he's doing. You really have to sit down and watch the games. And, man, he is everywhere. He is doing exactly what we saw him do at Mill Creek, Georgia, which was his high school. He's doing the same thing, right? I mean, he is just – Saban has got to walk around with a Pinocchio all the time because he coaches defensive backs. And you know he does. He's walking around like Pinocchio. Right? And, I've got him ranked so high in my IDP Devy rankings. And, he's as good as I thought he is who I thought he was, right? To quote Dennis Green, he is who we thought he was. He's that good. Plus, he's young, right? So that goes into the rankings. He's a true freshman. So you're getting a sophomore season, you're getting a junior season before he even can move on to the NFL. So you've got at least 2 more years after this year of control. And he's playing a premium position. Linebacker, safeties next. I mean, that's some people's asked me why you got him so high and not some of the other freshmen. That's it, right? I mean, he's kind of hit the trifecta. He's young, eligibility, and production. And then if you want to, the quadruple, he's playing for a powerhouse like Alabama. So, I mean, man, I hate to say it, but I got a man crush on him because this dude is legit. I mean, he is legit. And he's not even playing offense for them, right? Like he did in high school. So, and I'm with you. I didn't realize that the tackle numbers would quite be that high. I thought they would be okay, maybe 4 or 5 a game. But he's, what, 7, 8 a game, I think?
Yep.
Yeah.
This next guy, from a fantasy standpoint, has been an absolute stud. He's the top defensive back in college IDP from a fantasy perspective, and that's Dylan Thieneman out of Purdue. This past week, he had 9 total tackles, 4 solos, and 9 assists. I mean, he's pretty consistent right there between that 11 to 9 tackle range every week. And I think he was a 3-star kid out of high school. But I haven't watched any Purdue games, so I can't really speak to his NFL potential. But from a CFF fantasy potential, man, he's been a stud all year, and he's got 2 more seasons left. So, props to him. The last freshman I wanted to mention was defensive end Reuben Bain Jr. out of Miami. He had 3 total tackles, 2 solos, 1 assist, 1 sack, and 1.5 TFLs. So it's great to see these freshmen producing, here in their true freshman year to getting some. Not only are they playing, but you're getting some production as well. So that speaks volumes to their future potential.
Yeah, man. I feel like it's kind of a rare year. I'm trying to find the words. It's kind of like a rare year for like true freshmen, right? We talked about Anthony Hill being kind of better than what we expected. We've talked about Caleb Downs. We've talked about some of those guys, and I'll throw another one in there. And here's your tidbit, right? For me, Tareen York, true freshman for Texas A&M, right?
Yeah.
If you've got some injuries or whatever, or some players that ain't producing at linebacker, go get this kid. Because Adrian Cooper, for them, kind of left the game with an injury, and he was already playing alongside of him as a true freshman. So with Cooper out, I think York is the play, right? He can help you down the stretch. I wouldn't classify him right now as an LB1, but if you can get him as a low-end LB2 or LB3 for your IDP Devy, man, you're going to be so happy you did. So go check him out. He's another true freshman. I think we're kind of getting into, and we've seen it in the NFL too, right? Because traditionally, rookies never played in the NFL, right? You had to sit the bench. You had to wait your turn. Same with true freshmen. You had to sit your bench. You had to sit the bench, wait your turn. And I think the game overall, and we're even seeing it in high school, right? Because you're always hearing about true freshman high schoolers or even 8th graders, right, leading their teams to championships. I think the game overall has evolved where experience plays a part and it's a big role, right? But some of these players are just so damn good. They're so damn talented, a la Caleb Downs, that you have to put them on the field early. You just can't keep them off. There has to be, are they going to make mistakes? Are they going to screw up? Sure. And that's the bad side, right? The downside. But they're going to make up for their playmaking ability, their big plays. And I think that's where football in general is going, especially fantasy, right? Because that's what you're chasing, especially in Devy, right? You're chasing Sal. You're chasing 2026 high schoolers, right? Because you're
Yes.
trying to get that next leg up, and if you can hit, I mean, you come out looking like a rock star. I mean, we've talked about Caleb Downs, and man, forever Caleb Downs we've had what? Just probably 100 that sucked, right? I can tell you one that I missed on, Corey Foreman. He sucked ass for USC. He ain't even on the field. Number one overall recruit, and he can't get on the field for a team that can't even play frickin' defense.
Yeah, for a team that is.
Now, what's the problem?
Future.
Either A, their defensive coaching staff don't know what the hell they're doing, or B, Corey Foreman sucks. He's not as good as we thought he was. There's no gray area. It's one of the two.
Yep,
So,
right.
I mean, and which makes me appreciate players like Caleb Downs even more. And I told you I had a man crush because I'm telling you, that dude, we're going to see him on Sundays pretty soon. And James Pierce is another one. We're going to see those dudes on Sundays, and you're going to think, damn, who told me about him? Well, we did, because those two guys, they're straight up dudes.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Pierce yet, but obviously for sure Downs watched him a lot. Yeah, he is for sure playing on Sundays.
Pierce really is impressing me. I know Tennessee's they've kind of lacked some depth, right, over the last few years. You had Byron Young, who went off to the NFL, really good pass rusher. They've got Tyler Barron, who's probably the next one. And they got Joshua Josephs. They've got James Pierce. They've got a lot of young guys on the roster. They've got a lot of young guys coming in the next couple of years. But James Pierce, man, he is. You can see it. There is a drastic change from his freshman year to this sophomore year, and he's going after next year. No doubt about it. Barring an injury, knock on wood, or something like that, I think he's gone because he's tearing some people up. So, yeah, definitely go check those guys out. So I love this. I love this true freshman shining week for you. I think this is one of my favorite segments that you've got here.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy looking it up each week to kind of see which freshman kind of help. It helps me just be aware of any freshmen that might be popping as well for the league too. So
yep, I agree. I guess we'll look ahead to week 8 here. We've kind of mentioned some of it. Penn State number 7 versus number 3 Ohio State. Ohio State is favored by 4.5. I'm taking Penn State not only to cover, I think they win this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a good chance to win it outright. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just haven't. When I've watched Ohio State this year, I haven't been impressed with them at all.
Yeah.
I mean,
speaking of freshmen, Penn State has 2 linebackers, Dominic DeLuca and Tony Rojas. That's 2 more freshmen you need to look at. Not quite on the level of Downs and Pierce.
Oh,
they've got a little bit. They're solid plays that you're probably going to have at least 2, maybe even 3 more years. And for a Penn State team that's really good, I think those are 2 options you should look at.
Talking about Penn State, next time you see Joey, you got to ask him what's he doing.
Joey the Tooth?
Oh yeah, buddy. Because he dropped Chop Robinson in our listener league.
What?
Yep. And I didn't notice it.
I'm assuming you were the eager beaver that pounced on him.
It wasn't me. I didn't notice it until someone else picked him up. But he was sitting on the waivers for a week and a half, 2 weeks.
If you tell me it's Dougie, I'm going to lose my shit worse than I did this morning.
It's one of our guys over in the UK, Nate the Saint. Nate Roberts.
Oh, okay.
He
awesome.
picked him
Good
up.
pickup.
But, I didn't notice it until Nate picked him up. And then I was like, you got to be shitting me. Who dropped Chop Robinson? I went back and looked, and it was freaking Joey. I'm like, oh, my God, Joey, what are you doing? Like you're an IDP
As soon as
guy.
this show's
And
over,
you-
I'm burning his ass.
Like, I mean, like I get it. Like you can't start him in college because he's not going to produce a whole lot, right? But
Right.
the dude's going to be a top 5 edge in this coming draft, and you just gave him away for
Yeah,
free.
he's going to have some good games for you this year,
Yeah,
though.
he
I mean,
does,
he
he
may not be
does.
consistent.
He's just not consistent.
Right.
But I mean,
Actually, I'm going to
the dude's
Twitter
a
right now to burn him.
top 5 edge, I think, in this draft. And you just and Joey just gave him away for free. And I'm like, oh my God, you gotta, like, you're killing me, Joey.
Yep, I'm getting him right now.
I was like, what are you doing? As a matter of fact, I think I was talking to Chop when I saw that Nate picked him up, and I was like, I think my words were, "What the fuck?" Like,
well, that's what I just typed. So,
yeah, it happened like last
man.
week. Nate picked him up last week. But yeah, like guys,
I can't
like
believe
if you're in
I
a
didn't even
C
see
league,
that.
you got to. I mean, if you got to hold on to those guys because. I mean, I get it. Like they're not helping you that much on the college side, but you basically just gave Ray a potential first-round NFL draft pick for free.
Right, and I can't stress this enough. This is another perfect example. Chop Robinson on waivers, right? And I tell this story all the time on IDP Nation. We helped out one of our listeners on the Patreon. Micah Parsons just sitting out there on waivers. I know it sounds insane. I don't care how insane it sounds. Go check your waivers.
People do crazy things. Yes,
they do. They do.
I mean, I mean, we had this conversation before we started the show. There's weeks when I just say, you know what, I'm just going to lose. I'm just going to lose because
right.
because I'm not going to drop somebody, that has value just so I can pick up, so I can start a third defensive back, or in the case of this week, an NFL league I'm in, like Joe Burrow's on a bye. It's a 1 quarterback league. I have Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Well, Trey Lance, he ain't playing anyway, but he's on a bye. So I had Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, they announced this week that, or today, that Garoppolo's not starting. So I'm like, okay, so my options are to drop somebody that I feel has value on my dynasty team and add like Tyson Bagent or Brian Hoyer. What's the point? They're going to get me 6-7 points. I'm still going to lose. So I might as well just take the loss. It's kind of the way I look at it. Sometimes that's just the way it's for the greater good. Sometimes you have to look at that greater good and not be so short-sighted on trying to win a particular week. And I get it. Sometimes you don't make the playoffs because of that week, but at least I'm not dropping Chop Robinson.
I tell you what really freaking sucks is I play in a contract league, right? So we've got some Devy picks. It's not a Devy league, but you got some Devy picks that you can put on your taxi or whatever. And like I said, it's a contract league. Look here, James Madison running up the score with a 13-2 lead. And you get penalized for illegal lineups. And when I say illegal, like if you start a player on a bye week or whatever, you get penalized for that. And man, there's been weeks where I've had the same thought process. Like, you know what? I've got these 4 running backs, but I'm not dropping them because 3 of them is on a bye and I have to start 2, right? I'm not dropping with them. I'll take the penalty.
Right.
Big week here. Tennessee versus Alabama. Alabama's favored by 8. It's in Alabama. I'm scared. I ain't gonna lie. I know we pulled off the upset at home last year. Good thing is this defense is a lot better than it was last year. I don't know that the offense is better. The run game's better. But the passing with the receivers, I think we're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit than what we were last year. So if we ever needed that defense, I think it's going to be this week. man, I know 8's kind of a semi-big number. 10 is really the huge number, right? 10 plus. Even more in college, I guess you would probably go 20 plus if you're blowing people out. But for a top 10 or a top 25 matchup, I feel like 8 that's a lot of points. Um, I don't know. If I'm a gambling man, I kind of stay away from it. Um, but man, don't people may not want to talk to me Saturday night. It's either going to be good or bad, and either way, they may not want to talk to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I can feel you. Yeah,
Because I'm going to be obnoxious either way. Either
what?
I'm going to cuss everybody and burn the world, or I'm going to be so obnoxious and rub it in everybody's face Saturday night. It's not going to be funny.
I know we're not an offensive podcast, but what is going on with Tennessee's offense? Like, is Joe Milton just that bad, or is there something else? I mean, I realize like they're missing some receivers, but they got some other talent. Like, I don't know. Their offense has not been great this year, or good.
It's not been great. The run game has been on point. Dylan Sampson, Jabari Small, oh, the other guy. My brain just went blank. Anyway, I forget his name. I'm so sorry. I forget his. Anyway, our run game has been on point. We've had some injuries, Cooper Mays and some guys on the offensive line early in the season. That was an issue. Joe Milton has not been horrible. I mean, he's been pretty freaking accurate as far as completion percentage and stuff like that. I will say this: Ramel Keaton has not helped him at all this year. There's been at least 4, maybe even 5 passes, deep passes, where he's hit him in stride and he's just flat out freaking dropped him, right? And you can't have that, right? I mean, that's killers. And now Brew McCoy's gone, so you're relying on some true freshmen, that's concerning.
Well, Squirrel White's
I think as far as Joe Milton
lived
goes,
up to his billing either.
Right, Joe Milton, for him, he's got to learn to run, right? I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago, very first play of the game, he rips one off 81 yards for a touchdown. The dude's 6'4", 6'5", 30, 240, and can run like a freaking gazelle. Dude, all you got to do is run like 5 or 6 times a game. Make the threat, right? And that changes everything offensively. For whatever reason, he's kind of been skittish or hesitant, whatever it is, or whatever read he's making is not a horrible read, but if you don't keep those defenses honest or keep them guessing, they're going to start keying on what you do. And I think that's been kind of the problem. And that's kind of been the thing here, right? They've kind of been stressing to him, hey, we're not telling you to run it 20 times a game. We don't need you to. We've got 3 capable running backs. That's Jalen Wright. That's the other guy. We've got 3 capable running backs, and we're dominating rushing in the SEC and nationally, right? We're right up there. So we don't need you to run it 20 times a game. But what we do need 5, 6, 7 times a game, we need you to run it for 5 yards, run it for 10 yards, break one for 80. When you do that, that threat backs the defense off, and I think that's kind of the problem. They're not scared of him as a runner, so they're kind of loading the box, which is even more impressive for our running game because our 3 running backs with a loaded box, they're still hammering it. So I don't know. My biggest issue with Milton, and it dates back to last year, is when he's running, it's his decision making. Last year, there was an opportunity, I forget who it was, opportunity for him to get a first down, and we absolutely needed him to get that first down and to run out of bounds. It was like he was scared to run. And there's been a couple times this year where he's just like, and then you then you turn on the game, and the first play of the game, he runs 81 yards, and you're like, where the hell's this been for 2 years, right? So I don't know. They're trying to get him to run more, not be Michael Vick or Randall Cunningham. We don't need you to run 20 times a game, but just give the threat, right? That's going to open up everything. And like I said, the receivers, especially Ramel Keaton, I hate to keep picking on him, but man, he's probably dropped 4 or 5 this year that were, if not long gainers, touchdowns, and changes the games everywhere. So I think Milton is really talented. There's no question about it, right? I mean, he can throw the damn football completely out of the freaking state. He can run like the wind. He's not horrible with decision making. I just think he needs to make a concerted effort to run it a few times a game, and we'll see. Because if you don't, Alabama's going to tee off on him. Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell and those guys. And if he can't back the defense off, you're going to bring Caleb Downs into the box, right? Because he's going to come after you too. So it'll be interesting. It's in Alabama. Yeah, I'm not liking it. But I'm telling you right now, if we win in Alabama, nobody is going to tell me nothing ever again.
Well, those are probably the 2 prime games. I feel like this next game, even though it's a top matchup, it's lost a lot of luster, and that's number 16 Duke at number 4 Florida State. Duke with no Riley Leonard, I don't see how they can beat Florida State. I mean,
and that's got to be the reason. No Riley Leonard has got to be the reason the spread is 14.5.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. I mean, I got to think that if Riley Leonard can play, they're going to play him. But on the other hand, like for them to have a chance to win, number 1, he's got to play. Number 2, he's got to be effective. If he can't be effective, then I can understand not playing him. But it'd be really interesting to see what Duke does if they do try to push him out there, because without him, they ain't got a chance. They don't have a chance at all.
Right. And Duke has got, I wouldn't say a great defense.
They got a good defense.
But they've got,
they don't have any superstars, but they got a really good defense.
They do have a good defense. So, man, 14.5. I feel like it's completely Riley Leonard being out. That's why
so
high. I think if he plays, it's probably maybe 7. It's probably half of what it is, maybe. If he plays. Yeah. But yeah, I wish he was playing, because I think if he was, that would be a hell of a game with those 2. And then our last matchup is another top 25. And man, it's number 14 Utah at number 18 USC. USC is favored by 7. And there's nothing more that I would love other than Tennessee beating Alabama to see Utah travel to USC and beat them. My only question is, Utah is, without Cam Rising, they are nothing what they should be offensively. Defensively, they will give Caleb Williams and that offense, they're going to give them fits. So if they can get anything remotely good out of their offense, they may beat USC and give back-to-back week losses.
Yeah. The one thing to note there with Utah, we got another cheat code player, a guy doing it on both sides, and that's starting safety for Utah, Sione Vaki. He rushed last week for 150 yards and like a touchdown or 2, and then had like 5 or 6 tackles on defense. He's playing both ways.
Well, they got so many injuries at running back, they had to find somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was, of course, who owns them in all our leagues, right? And it's not me.
Well, there's a miracle.
It's Chop. Chop owns them in all our leagues. But in the Toonland League, he was a free agent, and I spent $51 to get him, which is pretty high price. But I am in a battle for first place in that league, and I figured, hey man, like if I can get him and he plays some running back the rest of the way out, he could possibly lead me to a championship. So I felt $51 was money well worth spent.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, because the indications are that they're going to continue to use them. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, Micah Bernard's out. I forget their other running backs, but they've been decimated at running back and quarterback pretty much, right? Without Cam Rising. Look at JMU running up the score. I like it. Yeah, they're just so deficient on offense right now. If Iowa didn't exist, Utah's the runner-up for wasted defense, right?
yeah, but at least, I mean, Utah's kind of. I mean, they got a better excuse. You know, they're their top quarterback. They've lost their top quarterback. They've lost their top 2 tight ends because now Yasmin is out for the rest of the year. The word is that
Thanks
Rising.
for reminding me after I spent all that fab on him last year. Thank you.
Kuthi and Rising. The word is that they might sit out the year, or sit out enough to where they can play 4 games and still redshirt. So,
does Rising come back next year? You think?
Oh yeah, I think at this point he does.
Yeah, I think
sure.
he does too.
And so I think that's what I think. Like he might play the 4 games that he's allowed to play and still be able to redshirt. I mean, maybe that's kind of what the rumors are is what's going to happen. So,
and maybe it's the last 4 games of the year, right? The bowl game, the conference championship.
So that would be maybe the last 2 or 3 games of the regular season, and then, like you said, they're not going to make the conference championship. I don't think.
You don't think so?
No, I think it's. I mean, they're going to have to beat either Washington or Oregon. I think, right? So.
Ooh, are they on the? Well, are they on
the Pac-12 is the same way now. It doesn't matter where you are; it's the top 2 teams.
That is right. Yeah, they're probably out then. Yeah, you're probably right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Do you like the non-division conferences, or do you like the? See, I'm kind of a traditionalist. I kind of like
it. I think I like it. I mean, like even though frickin' like Iowa, you know that's the poster child for not having it. But other than that, I mean, without that, I mean, I do like it. I mean, yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know, like it gives. I feel like it gives more opportunities to more teams, right? So just because look at it this way. So let's say the Big Ten, even though like I hate the fact that Iowa gets there, let's say the Big Ten doesn't have it, right? Awesome. It's Michigan and Ohio State all the time, right? They already play once in the regular season. They're gonna play again in the championship. I don't like that aspect, you know.
Yeah, I don't either.
And so I feel like it gives other teams an opportunity. Just kind of spreads it out a little bit more. And so I like that part of it. Gives us some variety.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Well, anything else you got?
No. Well, Marshall might just score a touchdown. And it might have been on a takeaway. Are you kidding me? It might have been. Let's see.
No, it's on a kickoff return.
Oh yeah, kickoff return. Yeah, 94 yards to the house. Are you
kidding me? If they cost me on this kickoff return, I may turn this room upside down.
They just took it 94 yards to the house, so now it's about to be 20 to. I'm going to assume they're going to go for 2, make it 20 to 10. Because what would be the point of making it 20 to 9? Like 11-point lead doesn't matter.
If they go 2, boom.
They need to go for 2. Hopefully that's what they're going to do because they'll make it a 10-point game.
I was trying to set you up here with your G5 Hive that you do.
Yeah. I mean, so we record Monday nights usually Nope, they're kicking the extra point, man.
Offense only, G5 high.
Yep. We primarily talk. I mean, every now and again, I'll sneak in a defensive thing, but yeah, it's primarily for right now. Right now, it's offensive only.
Oh, I see your cool little logo back there.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Snuck
I,
that
I,
in on me. I wasn't paying attention.
Yep, that's a logo that I designed. I'm pretty proud of it. I think it looks pretty badass. But yeah,
Hey, I love all your work. You do all the graphics, all the stuff for Devy IDP Grind. I'm trying to get you to do some stuff for IDP Nation. You do a good job, man.
thank you. So, but yeah, Monday nights usually around 10:15 Eastern. This past week, I had a special guest on, and to accommodate his schedule, I think we recorded like 20 after 8. But yeah, usually Monday nights 10:15 we go live, and then you can find it as soon as we're done recording. We post it up on the podcast. So
Cool.
same,
Cool.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, obviously YouTube.
Right. So, yeah. Again, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe. The G5 Hive, Devy IDP Grind. You can follow me at Hollywood Titan. You can find Justice at Justice_2318 at Devy IDP Grind.
Yeah,
Wherever you listen to podcasts.
one last
Go ahead.
thing. I did it last season. I don't think I plugged it yet this year, but if you're in an IDP league, in addition to Hollywood's Patreon for college IDP is a great resource over at Campus to Canton. I put up the season to date leaders from a fantasy perspective, so you can get their fantasy points and their stats to date. I break it down. I show all the IDP in one, and then also have it broken down by defensive line, linebackers, and defensive backs. So a great resource for you guys to use to, perhaps pick up free agents, see kind of how your team's doing on a season to date basis, who you should be starting, all that kind of good stuff. So if you're not a member at Campus Canton, go subscribe, and you'll have access to that IDP information.
Yep, absolutely. Great resource those guys are, and Justice, and our Patreon, right? Go check out IDP Nation Patreon. That's where I put all my Devy stuff, IDP Devy rankings up to 300. And they change, however I need to see them. They haven't changed a whole lot. Some of the lower guys, when you get 250 or lower, some of those kind of change, but some of the top guys change from time to time. So go check that out. There's articles. There's high school articles. You're welcome, Sal. I know you're listening. He's the one who drives that boat. So, yeah, he's already on me about 2026. So I better get started. But, yeah, go check that out. We got all kinds of good stuff. Again, hit us up on YouTube. Hit us up on Twitter. Tell everybody about it. And we will be back next week. I forgot what I was doing here.